I want you to know that I had every intention of recording a different topic for this video. It came to my mind. I had an idea of the direction that I was going to go in. And then I felt a little tap, tap, tap from God saying, no, I don't want you to talk about that. I want you to talk about this instead. And without hesitation, I said, sure. So here we are. Oh my goodness. So to get right to the meat of the topic, 2 days ago, today is Wednesday. So this was yesterday. Yesterday. No, that's true. It was 2 days ago. I didn't follow it 2 days ago, but in either case, I started yesterday. I heard a very clear message. And when I say here, it was an internal, I heard the statement kind of, when you remember an old conversation, you're not necessarily hearing the voice, but you're hearing it in your mind, if that makes any sense. I heard and I felt God say to me, I want you to stop watching television. Now, I don't think that I watch a lot of TV, but in either case, when I heard the message, I felt a chill go down my spine and I said, oh, okay. Like, no TV? None? And if you're asking, well, how long is this supposed to go on for? Your guess is as good as mine. I did not ask God that question. I have found that when I get a directive, I will ask follow-up questions, and 9.9 times out of 10, I do not get an answer to the follow-up question. So I've learned, you said this, okay, I'm going to do this. And the reason why I think I know God wants me to talk about this is because there has been an assignment that I was specifically given. It's been about 5.5 years now. Now, at this moment in time, I could very clearly hear God's voice telling me to do something. There is an assignment that I am meant to do. And when I heard God tell me to do this assignment in 2020, I had all sorts of rebuttals. I had all sorts of reasons as to why I couldn't do the assignment. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't roll my eyes, but I had this feeling of, oh, not this again. Because for so many years, I can't tell you how many people, friends, family, strangers would say to me, you should really do this. I think you would be good at this. You should really do that. So much so that even my mom said that to me. I think you should do XYZ. I'm keeping it very close to the chest because I've also learned from God that I shouldn't always divulge the things that He is asking of me. I need to make sure that I execute, and then when it's done, or very, very close to done, then I can share. And I remember when I would hear people tell me that I should do this, my first thought was, they don't know me. I'm not skilled enough to do what they're saying I should do. And then when my mom suggested it, I dismissed it, but I trust my mom implicitly, and to know that she said this, it was another, oh goodness. But of course I didn't listen because I'm thinking to myself, these humans don't know what they're talking about. I'm just going to ignore it. It's not anything of importance. But when God said to me, I need you to do this thing. And y'all, when I tell you I heard the voice so clearly as I hear my own speaking voice. Now, normally when I say I hear God's voice, it's like I said, a remembrance of a conversation. So I'm not hearing a voice. It's more of a telepathy, kind of recalling a conversation that I didn't actually have. But this moment, I heard a voice and I can still feel the feelings in my body. It was as if electricity was just coursing through my entire body. So naturally, what did I do? I ignored the assignment. Yes, I ignored it. I came back to God and I said, well, how do you want me to do it? And should I do this? And okay, well, if you're saying this, then maybe I should do that. And just having all sorts of excuses and reasons as to why I could not do this thing. And then I took it even a step further and did everything under the sun but the thing that God asked me. And this has been going on for years. Now, I will say that there were moments where I was following through and I took my time and I said, okay, I'm going to be dedicated to this. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to do this. But rather than asking or being open and receptive to just be a clear channel and a clear vessel for what it is that God had asked me to do, I started to take control over the project and say, well, this is what I think you mean. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to put this together. And I could feel God's presence just looking at me, shaking his head like, oh, my child. I said nothing of the sort. I did not ask you to do any of those things. But this is what I've learned in this time since I've been told this assignment till now. And I'm leading up to this no television and what I think this no television request is actually asking of me as it relates to this assignment. Since that time, since I heard God tell me to do this, it has been a slow but very systemic breaking down and removal of all the things that could distract me from getting this thing done. People, places, being uprooted from a particular place, removing behaviors and patterns. There were moments where I began to question, is this punishment? And I did not put two and two together. I did not think, oh, this thing or this person is being removed from me because God wants me to do this assignment. I was interpreting it as this thing or this person is being removed from me because my life is going up in shambles and I don't know why. I don't know what's happening. There were so many different changes and there were so many huge monumental shifts that were happening. And when I look at my life right now, I could never have even imagined where I'm at in this moment. The interesting thing is, I will say more so currently and in the recent past, I felt more that this time is about isolation for a purpose. So when I thought about it as punishment in the beginning, part of the reason why I thought it was punishment was because there were some people that had to leave my life, and though it was very painful, I said, okay, this is what's necessary. There were some things that had to be restructured in my life that I said, okay, that hurts and that's difficult, but okay. But then there were some aspects that were changing in ways that I did not want them to change. relationship structures with other people that I did not want to see morph into something else. I wanted to keep it the same way that it had been for so long, not realizing that it had to change, it had to go into something different, and also not understanding at the time the reason why, thinking it was something else. So I kept coming to God and I kept saying, what's going on? Because I feel as though I'm being punished. I feel as though I'm being persecuted. What's happening? It took a while before I could really see the protection, before I could see the covering, and the isolation, the setting apart is more of, now I'm recognizing, a preparation. This is a time for me to be molded and shaped into the person that I need to be so that I can move into this next phase. So I had to restructure my relationship with God because God was restructuring everything else in my life, making it so that I had to go to God for everything. And that at times felt nice and reassuring because I've always had a very close, intimate relationship with God ever since I was a child. So it wasn't anything new, but there was a depth to it now that I had never experienced. And so, like, there would be moments where something would happen and I would think to call somebody and I would say, oh, I want to share this with somebody. And then I would say, I could just talk to God. Hey, this is what happened. And I know you were there. I know you saw the thing. I know you orchestrated the thing. But I just got to talk to you from the perspective of a friend who's just talking and sharing and wanting to divulge information. And so I think as a result of that, it really made me lean on God in ways that I had never leaned on God before. As this process was going on and happening, and I had to take my power back, I had to see myself in a completely different way. Things at my job were changing, things in my family were changing. So much was going on that I just said, okay, I could feel the reasoning. I don't know the fullness of what it is that I'm stepping into, but I have an idea. But I could see, okay, I think I know where we're going. I think I know what you're doing. And as difficult as it is to let some of these things go, as difficult as it is to trust, I just said, okay, I'm going to do this. So I think that was phase one. I think phase one was, okay, I'm taking away all of these distractions. I'm taking away all these things, which most of the distractions were people. And so God was saying, okay, kind of like moving pieces on a chessboard. All right, this person's going to go over here now. This person's going to go over here. All right. And I'm clearing the path. I'm clearing the way for you. So I said, okay, got it. Then I went back and started to really work on and be intentional about working on this assignment, working on this thing that God had asked me to do, but still doing it my way, still putting myself in the center of it, in the putting my spin on it. And once again, I could feel God just kind of, oh, didn't ask you to do that. And not only, so there was the removal of people, restructuring of things. And so then what did I do? I then tacked more things on. I added more things. So if a person was removed, then I ended up joining a group and then being a part of a group for some whatever. First it was like a Bible thing, and then it was a conversation, mentorship thing. It was a bunch of like different things that I just started tacking on, and I was rationalizing it as, oh, well, God would want me to do these things because I believe that it helps me to get out of my comfort zone. It helps me to talk to people. It helps me to have relationships with people that I don't know, so be, I can get more comfortable talking and being vulnerable and not always leaning on the people that I know already, that know me. And this is really going to get me to branch out. It's going to help me with my leadership. It's going to help me with speaking more. Just rationalizing all this stuff. And once again, God said, I did not ask you to do any of that. I was putting myself in it, and I was putting my own belief or idea of, well, I see kind of what you're doing. I know that I have no clue as to the fullness or what the complete picture is going to be, but I have a couple of pieces of the puzzle, and thinking like, I'm going to help you along, as if I could help God along. But I'm saying, maybe I could help myself too in this equation. Maybe I could do something to kind of make this not easier, but prepare me, set me up for whatever it is that you're going to have me doing. Oh Lord. But once again, God said, I did not ask you to do any of those things. And so where I'm at right now is, the best way I can describe this feeling is, there's such a uh, it's not like a, this was more so last year. I was feeling actual pressure. The I believed that what I was experiencing was similar to what a baby experiences when a mother is going into labor and there's contractions, and everything around the baby is getting tight and it's pushing them out, but they don't know that, right? They have no comprehension. Whether they have consciousness in the womb or not, I don't know, but they they don't know that this environment that had been so comfy cozy for so long, as they were growing and developing, has now become this pressurized, tight, like just scary, I'm assuming, place. Not understanding, not realizing that it is preparing them to move into the next phase, into something that is unknown. They have no clue. And that's how last year felt. I could feel the air around me like closing in. Ow, that hurts. Stop. Do you not want me to talk? Okay, I really truly wanted to make this a video that I did not have to edit, but I'm going to edit that. Anyway, yes, so I could feel the air around me get tight. It felt difficult to breathe. Everything just felt so pressurized. Now, I don't feel the pressure. What I feel now is, I don't even know how to describe this. I don't even know if I have words for this. What I feel now is this, geez, I don't even have words. I can't describe it. I can't even describe it. But the pressurization is no longer present. I don't feel that anymore. So I won't say that I have gone through the birth canal or that I am now on the other side, but what I do feel is that I'm in this kind of prep mode. Like I'm I'm gearing up to now actually physically move into these things that God has been setting me up and preparing me for. Not only so the relationships, right, were changing and restructuring and all this other stuff. And so, oh, that's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say. What I feel now is like irritation. I went from feeling pressure in my environment to irritation. My patience, my my level of compassion, it's lowered substantially. It has lowered substantially. My patience is so thin, and there's so many things in so many different areas right now that I find myself grumbling and complaining about, when just months ago I was like Snow White, just singing fa la 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 and being so grateful and so joyous and having a beautiful experience. And now everything is just like, oh, that's getting on my nerves. Oh, why are you doing that? Oh, this is... And I realized last week, or maybe really a couple of days ago, oh, the irritation is happening because I'm supposed to be actually doing this thing. I need to execute. YouTube is not the thing. YouTube is not the thing that God had asked me to do, but I will say this is preparing me for what it is that I know I need to do. So the irritation has started happening, and that's been going on for some time. It's still very new, but I recognized it, and I immediately knew what it was, and I said, okay, what is it that I need to do? And I came to God, and I was very serious about, all right, I'm going to do this, and I'm really serious about it. So help me to see the places that I maybe have blinders to, that I'm not recognizing, that need to change. If there's some sort of discipline that I need to have, if there's a certain schedule or routine, or have to kind of create certain habits, tell me what it is that I need to do. Now, the first thing that I got that I thought was so odd, and I'll admit, did I follow it 100%? No. The first thing that I heard very clearly from God was, I want you to stop drinking coffee. Now, I'm not this huge coffee drinker. I don't drink any more than 1 cup a day. And there are times where I go without drinking coffee. I'll drink some tea. So it wasn't as though the request was something was that I was dependent on. But I think it was a test. I think it was a test to see, are you going to really follow this? Because if it's something that you're kind of wishy-washy on and you kind of don't care about, then it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter if I ask you to not do this. And so when I first got that directive, I'll admit, I kept drinking coffee because I thought to myself, this surely you can't, is it really? Is that? I eventually stopped, and I started drinking tea in the morning. And the funny thing is that when I started drinking tea, I noticed I felt like just as energized, if not more, drinking tea than I did coffee. And it's not as though I need coffee to kind of get me going in the morning. I just like the flavor of coffee. And so I said, okay, all right, I'll try to to stick to that. I found ways to subvert it, of course. Um, but in either case, I knew that it was a test, and I knew that it was something that it was important. And I felt bad that I wasn't following it, that I wasn't listening and being attentive and following through. So then I said, okay, I'm going to make sure I do this thing. Now, YouTube, like I said, is not the thing, is not the assignment that was asked of me. And yet here I am. I started this YouTube uh, challenge of making sure I do a video every single day. And that was not something that God asked me to do. That was not what He asked of me. And yet I said, you know what? I'm going to do this, thinking once again, this could help me. This could really be something that I think will be beneficial for me. And I still believe that. I still wholeheartedly believe that, because with the uploading schedule that I have, it does make me more disciplined. I have to commit. I have to commit to recording. I have to commit to uploading. And when I'm recording, I have to commit to the topic and what it is that I'm talking about, and being very open, being very vulnerable, and also working on not editing and using my voice and hearing all of the hymns and haws and the pauses and all this stuff with Gizmo, right? I said I really want to practice this, and I really want to be committed to this. And so this was the first step. And even though God did not ask this of me, I think it was a sign of, okay, I'm trying to make sure that I have some sort of commitment. And then the other thing that I started to add to my daily routine was something related to this assignment, something related to this task that I was given. So I said, okay, I'll make sure that I do this too. Thus far, it's been a couple of days. So I've been committed, dedicated to that. When the directive came in to not watch television, I knew where it was coming from. I knew what the reasoning was. I don't watch a whole lot of television, and when I do, I most likely am falling asleep because I'm so tired from the day that I'm not really even paying attention to what I'm watching. But I fully understood that the television is a distraction. And there are times where I'm sitting and I'm watching something and I'm flipping through and just trying to find something to watch. And I'm flipping through for I don't know how long. And I feel myself saying, Kendall, you could be doing something else. You could be doing something more productive than this. It's not to say that I can't have leisure time. It's not to say that I can't have downtime. I've obviously been talking about having a slower life, slowing down. But I believe that I know that I can have a slow life that still allows me to be creative, and where I can have downtime that just does not involve television. Sir, we're not going to do this. We're not going to do this. Okay, I'll do this. Okay. I believe what God wants me to say, to share, is that sometimes the things that we are asked to do are difficult, they are challenging, because we have to restructure our lives in ways that means that we'll have to sacrifice things that we've enjoyed, sacrifice relationships that we've had, sacrifice all sorts of things in order to trust in what it is that God has for our lives. Yeah, folks. Yeah. Wow. Wow. When this topic came, it was right before I got home, and I was driving, and I felt the switch, and I said, oh, okay, interesting. And then I got home, I had to do some things, had to take care of some things, and then I just was sitting with Gizmo on the couch, not watching TV, and I just had him on my lap, and I was petting him, and I was just closing my eyes and just taking a moment to relax. And I said to myself, because I was thinking of the topic this topic, that the turning the TV off. Um, and I started to say to myself, well, maybe I should kind of think of the direction. How am I going to start? And I said, oh no, no, I'm just gonna let it flow. I'm not going to try and control what it is that I'm going to say, and I'm going to do my best to not edit this and have it flow and let it go. And minus the little interactions with Gizmo, I think I've been able to do that, and so I also feel more confident in talking more without trying to edit myself here and then edit myself in post, as they say. So, yeah. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate y'all. I appreciate you for commenting, and I appreciate you for being a part of this journey with me. It's, I really, I don't have any words, but I have so much gratitude, and I'm really appreciative, and I'm very, very grateful. Thank you so much. So please, please please comment, and please comment, share, and subscribe. Please subscribe. Please, please, please. And I will catch y'all on the next video. Bye.